The signal cut through the noise of battle like a knife. It came from a dead ship. Old, silent, alone. It should not be alive. The scout vessel broke from formation and burned hard toward the dark shape ahead. Engines screamed. Metal shook. Red warning lights flashed across the narrow cockpit. The pilot swore and pulled the controls tight as distant fire tore through space behind them. The abandoned ship drifted with no lights, no shields, no movement. Its hull was scarred and black, like it had been burned a long time ago. Yet the signal kept repeating. Short, sharp, clean. It pushed through static and jamming with ease. The pilot checked the timer. The signal had been active longer than any reactor should last. Years longer. A voice crackled over the comm. The fleet was falling back. Enemy fire was closing in. Orders came fast. Leave the area. Do not approach unknown targets. The pilot hesitated. Sweat ran into his eyes. The signal pulsed again. Stronger now. Almost closer. He turned the ship anyway. The scout slammed into the dead ship docking bay with a hard jolt. Metal screamed as clamps locked in place. The engines cut. Silence hit fast and heavy. Only the signal remained. It came from inside. The pilot grabbed his rifle and moved down the narrow corridor. His boots rang against the floor. The air smelled burned and stale. Emergency lights flickered weak and red. The walls were marked with deep cuts and black stains. A loud boom shook the hull. The battle outside was getting closer. Dust fell from the ceiling. The signal grew louder with each step. It felt wrong. Too steady. Too calm. He reached a sealed door. The panel was dead. He hit it with his hand. Nothing. He forced it open with a manual lever. The door groaned and slid apart. Inside was the command room. Chairs were tipped over. Screens were shattered. A body floated near the ceiling, locked in place by a torn harness. The face was frozen in fear. The eyes were wide and empty. The signal source sat at the center of the room. A small black unit. No visible power. No wires. No heat. The pilot raised his rifle. His hands shook. He circled the device, searching for traps. Nothing moved. The signal kept playing. One short burst. Over and over. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights died for a second. When they came back, the signal changed. It spoke. Not a warning tone. Not an alarm. A voice. Human. Weak. Broken. The pilot froze. The voice repeated the same words. Slow. Clear. Full of fear. It said they made a mistake. It said they did not listen. It said they attacked first. The pilot backed away. His breath came fast. His heart slammed in his chest. The walls around him felt tighter. Outside, the sound of engines grew louder, not friendly. The voice spoke again. This time, it said the warning was true. It said the danger was still coming. The floor shook hard. Something struck the hull. The scout ship alarm screamed from the docking bay. He had seconds left. The pilot looked at the dead crew. He looked at the device. He reached out to shut it down. The signal stopped. For one beat, everything went silent. Then a new signal began to broadcast, stronger, wider, calling out into the war-torn dark. The pilot realized too late that the ship had been waiting for someone to listen. The new signal flooded every channel at once. The pilot's headset screamed, his screen filled with warning marks. Systems failed in a chain. The scout ship shook as enemy fire ripped past the hull. He ran back through the corridor. The floor tilted under his feet. Smoke poured from broken vents. The dead ship groaned as if it was waking up. The pilot slammed into the docking bay. His scout ship rocked against the clamps. Red lights flashed wild. A sharp voice shouted orders through the static. Cut the link. Pull away. Do it now. He punched the release. Nothing happened. Another hit slammed the hull. Metal tore. Air rushed out in a hard blast. The pilot grabbed a rail and held on. His rifle spun away into the dark. The signal pushed deeper into the scout ship. Screens changed on their own. Old maps filled with new marks. Unknown shapes moved across the display. They were coming from everywhere. The pilot yelled into the comm. No reply. Only the signal answered. The same broken voice returned. It said the warning was ignored once. It said fear caused the first attack. It said the price was paid in blood. The clamps finally released. The scout ship drifted free. The pilot forced the engines on. They coughed and burned weak. He turned hard and flew straight into the chaos. Outside, space was on fire. Ships burned and broke apart. Weapon fire crossed in thick lines. Debris slammed into his hull. The scout ship took damage fast. Panels blew. Alarms howled without pause. The signal jumped again. It left the scout ship and spread into the battle. Every ship reacted at once. Weapons powered down. Guidance systems failed. Command channels filled with panic. A heavy cruiser nearby lost control and smashed into a smaller ship. Both exploded. The shock wave hit the pilot and threw him sideways. He slammed into his seat. Blood filled his mouth. He tried to cut the signal. He tore cables out with his hands. Sparks burned his skin. The voice did not stop. It grew louder. The signal shifted again. It changed its path. It went beyond the fleet. It reached into deep space. The pilot understood then. The dead ship was not calling for help. It was calling for attention. Enemy ships slowed. Their fire stopped. New shapes appeared on the edge of sight. Massive. Silent. Too many. The voice spoke one last time. It said they came to warn. It said they were killed. It said the cycle was complete. The pilot stared at the screen. The shapes moved closer. The signal locked onto them. It fed them everything. He screamed and slammed his fist into the console. The scout ship shuddered as power failed. Darkness closed in. In the final second, the pilot saw the truth. The warning was never meant to save them. It was meant to tell the others where to find them. The first enemy ship fired without warning. A bright line cut across space and ripped through a friendly cruiser. The ship broke apart in seconds. Fire and metal spread out like rain. The pilot shouted and pushed his engines hard. His scout ship surged forward. Alarms screamed around him. The signal kept talking. It did not care about the battle. Other ships opened fire. The dark filled with flashing lines and sudden explosions. Commands overlapped with screams and broken orders. No one was in control. The enemy ships moved fast. Too fast. They did not fly in lines or groups. They twisted and split apart, then came back together. Their weapons hit with perfect aim. One by one, friendly ships went dark. The pilot tried to lock a target. His screen glitched. The signal cut through again. The voice spoke inside his head now. It said he should not run. It said running would not help. He slammed his fist into the console. Blood smeared the panel. He turned off the audio feed. The voice kept going. It was inside the system. It was everywhere. A friendly ship spun past him, burning from the inside. Escape pods fired out in panic. An enemy ship sliced through them without slowing down. The pilot felt sick. He clenched his jaw and pushed his ship toward a nearby carrier. It was damaged, but still firing. He needed cover. He needed orders that made sense. As he closed in, the carrier exploded. A blast wave hit his scout ship and sent it spinning. He lost control for a moment. The stars blurred. He forced the ship steady and screamed into the comm. No answer. Only static and the signal. The voice changed tone. It sounded tired. It said this had happened before. It said humans always reacted the same way. Fear first, violence next. The pilot laughed once. sharp and broken. He told the voice to shut up. He armed his last missile and locked onto the nearest enemy ship. Before he could fire, his weapons went dead. The enemy ship did not shoot him. It slowed and matched his speed. A beam of light hit the scout ship, not a weapon. The ship locked in place. Engines died. Power dropped to backup. The pilot struggled against the controls. He reached for his rifle, even though it made no sense. The enemy ship filled the viewport. Its surface shifted like liquid metal. The signal went quiet. For 1 second, there was no sound at all. Then the voice spoke again. Soft, clear, close. It said they came long ago to warn. It said they were met with fire. It said the dead ship was proof of that mistake. Images filled the pilot screen. A past battle. Human ships attacking first. A smaller group of strange ships breaking apart under heavy fire. The pilot saw fear on both sides. The voice said the warning was about survival. About a threat that would end both sides. The voice said humans never listened. The pilot felt cold. He felt small again. He whispered that it was too late. The enemy ship released him. Power snapped back on. Alarms screamed. The enemy ship pulled away and vanished in a flash of light. Around him, the battle was ending. Not because of victory. Because there was no one left to fight. Only wreckage drifted through the dark. Command finally returned to the calm. A new voice spoke, shaking, broken. It ordered all remaining ships to regroup. The pilot checked his sensors. Something massive was coming. It blocked out the stars. The signal returned at full strength. The voice said time was over. The massive shape moved closer. It did not rush. It did not fire. It simply advanced, slow and heavy, filling the dark with its shadow. Smaller ships drifted around it like broken debris. The pilot felt his breath shorten. His scout ship shook as warning alarms returned. Heat spikes, gravity pull, system strain. Command yelled for all ships to scatter. Some tried. Engines flared. A few ships jumped away in flashes of light. Most did not make it. The massive shape released a pulse. No explosion. No fire. Every ship hit by it went silent. Lights died. Engines cut. One by one, ships became dead metal drifting in space. The pilot slammed power to full and pulled away. His ship barely responded. Controls lagged, screens flickered. The signal pushed through again. The voice spoke fast now. It said this was the threat. It said it eats systems and leaves nothing alive. It said it cannot be stopped by force. The pilot shouted back in rage. He asked why no one was told sooner. He asked why the warning came so late. The voice answered without pause. It said the warning came before. It said the ones who brought it were killed. The pilot remembered the dead ship, the bodies, the confession. We killed the ones who came to warn us. A friendly frigate drifted past his view. Its hull was cracked open. Inside, fires burned with no air. A body floated near the breach, spinning slowly. The pilot swallowed hard and turned his ship toward the nearest carrier wreck. He needed cover. He needed time to think. Inside the wreck, alarms still screamed into empty halls. Fire suppression mist sprayed into nothing. He docked hard and ran inside. Metal corridors echoed with his boots. Emergency lights flashed. The air was hot and thick. Somewhere deep inside, something exploded. Other survivors were there. A few, armed, shaking. One aimed a weapon at him until they saw his face. No one spoke for a second. The signal reached them even here. It came through speakers and wrist screens. It filled the halls. One survivor screamed and smashed a console. Another dropped to their knees and covered their ears. The voice did not stop. It said the massive shape was only one of many. It said more were waking up. It said the warning was meant to unite both sides before it was too late. A new order came through command. It was short, cold. All remaining ships were to fire everything they had. The pilot felt anger rise in his chest. He shouted that it would not work. No one listened. Through a broken viewport, he watched the last fleet charge. Weapons lit the dark. Missiles streaked forward. The massive shape did not slow. Another pulse hit. The fleet died in silence. The carrier wreck shook as debris slammed into it. Lights went out. The corridor fell dark, except for red strips along the floor. The survivors stood still. No one breathed. The voice spoke one last time. It said this was the final chance. It said someone must carry the truth forward. The pilot felt the weight of it settle on him. His hands trembled. He did not want this. He was not ready. A new sound rose through the hall. A deep vibration. The massive shape was moving again. Closer. The pilot turned toward the docking bay. He ran. Behind him, the wreck began to tear apart. The signal grew louder. The stars outside began to fade. Something huge was about to arrive. The pilot reached the scout ship as the carrier wreck began to break apart. Metal screamed behind him. The docking bay shook. Fire rolled across the ceiling. He sealed the hatch and dropped into the seat. Alarms screamed at once. Hull pressure low. Power unstable. External gravity spike. He did not try to fix it. He hit the engines and tore free. The wreck exploded seconds later. Shards of metal slammed into his hull. The ship spun. He fought the controls and barely leveled out. Outside, space was dying. Stars dimmed as if something was pulling the light away. The massive shape moved again, slow and endless. Its surface cracked open in places, glowing with deep heat. Smaller shapes poured out of it. Not ships, not machines. They moved like swarms. They spread in all directions. The signal surged. Every screen lit up. Every speaker screamed. The voice spoke fast. It said there was no escape through force. It said running would only delay the end. The pilot yelled back. He demanded another way. He demanded anything. The voice paused. Then it said the truth must be carried. It said the warning must be believed. It said the message needed a living mind. The pilot understood too late. The scout ship systems began to change on their own. Power rerouted. Controls locked. The signal flowed into every channel. The ship was becoming a carrier. He tried to shut it down. He pulled cables. He smashed panels. Sparks burned his hands. The ship did not respond. A new presence filled the cockpit. Not hostile. Not kind. Heavy. Watching. The voice said this was how it worked before. It said the first warning ship was built the same way. It said humans killed it out of fear. The pilot screamed in anger. He said they were right to fear. He said this was wrong. The presence did not argue. The massive shape turned its focus on him. Space bent, pressure crushed the hull. The scout ship shook as if held by a giant hand. The pilot felt pain loom behind his eyes. Blood ran from his nose. He held on and screamed. Then the pressure stopped. The massive shape pulled away. It let him go. The signal changed again. It became clean, directed. A single path out of the war zone opened on his screen. The voice said go. Behind him, the swarm reached the last human ships. There was no battle. There was no sound. Ships simply went dark. The pilot flew. He did not look back. Time stretched. Space warped. His ship burned hard through empty dark. The signal stayed steady, feeding power and direction. Days passed. Or maybe hours. He could not tell. Food ran out. Sleep came in short bursts. The voice stayed quiet now, only guiding. At last, new stars appeared ahead. Calm space, no fire, no wreckage. The pilot slowed. His hands shook. His eyes burned. The signal pushed outward. Far away, new ships turned. New scanners lit up. New voices filled the dark. Unknown ships. Fresh. Curious. The pilot felt dread twist in his chest. The voice returned. Soft. Final. It said now they will listen, or they will shoot. The pilot opened the channel. His mouth was dry. His voice cracked. He began to speak. The warning left his ship and raced into the stars. Weapons began to power up around him. Target locks appeared on his screen. The pilot closed his eyes as the signal grew louder. History was about to repeat itself.